Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jess.
And I'm the sensitive one. Today, Lucas has some seriously cool news. So cool, he's not sharing. Jeremy and I team up to review the amazing Spider-Man 2.
Whoa. Wait. You two are doing another duel review? Didn't you guys just do one for Captain America?
Yeah, but this is what happens when comics and movies come together to form beautiful dual reviews.
But you just did one. Not to mention last week was all about comics. It's like you two are repeating yourselves.
Well, at least I don't have a PSA for the third show in a row.
I don't. I'm talking about net neutrality.
Oh.
And what's your other review this week? Another MOBA?
No, it's a awesome indie RPG. It's so cool and indie. You've never even heard of it. It's so awesome.
Oh. This is Nerdcast.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Roger. Ready to move out.
So, what game did you review this week?
Child of Light.
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you.
I'm reviewing Child of Light.
Ha! That's the one I suggested.
Yeah, it's a slow week.
Uh-huh. And what did you think about Child of Light?
It's really good.
Hey guys, today in news there is a lot of random news stories, so let's go ahead and get started. Are you addicted to your smartphone? Taiwanese lawmakers seem to think so. They are planning on implementing a fine for pedestrians that pay more attention to their phones than they do to the traffic when they're crossing the street. As someone who's been there, I just wish they would pay more attention in the metro stations. The Taiwanese lawmakers think that the dangerous traffic in their country poses a threat to citizens. Seriously though, if they just followed red light rules and didn't have 10 scooters stopped in the same 25 square foot box, we wouldn't have this problem.
Wait, they don't stop at red lights?
Pre-orders for the next WoW expansion, Warlords of Draenor, have somehow managed to pass 1 million. Pre-ordering opened up on March 10th, and the expansion is expected to release before 2015. Unfortunately, this hasn't stopped the falling subscriber numbers. We're now looking at 7.6 million users.
Really? They still have that many?
The Last of Us is getting a new difficulty mode in the next patch, Grounded Difficulty. This is supposed to have super aggressive AI and is only recommended for the most seasoned of players. Raise your hand if you want Mitch to review it using the new difficulty setting. Nintendo is back in the news again this week, guys. And I have to say, I'm a little bit confused. Nintendo is planning on launching a website to create a Mario Kart 8 community.
Apparently, the Miiverse isn't enough for them.
Via this website, visitors will be able to watch videos posted online. If you have a Nintendo Network ID, you can upload game clips and where you placed in the races. Honestly, I'm more excited they announced new Pokemon games than this site. Well, new old Pokemon games. All we know is that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire have been announced, and E3 is right around the corner. But seriously, where is my Yellow remake?
Oh, hey, that'd be a good idea. But that'll probably be the last good idea.
Good point. I mean, Nintendo knows their real money comes from Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon. The White House is trying to work on an Internet Privacy Bill of Rights, which would be awesome if it actually passed. They're attempting to hash out everything so that there are no loopholes whatsoever. But where there's a will, there's a way.
Indie is the way of the future, and nothing proves that quite like Child of Light, the old-school turn-based RPG that finally found a way to update the genre without becoming Kingdom Hearts, an MMO, or any of the Final Fantasies beyond 10. Disclaimer, I love Kingdom Hearts. The newer Final Fantasies, not so much, and MMOs are just okay by me, but they're not turn-based RPGs, are they? Like with most early video games, a turn-based RPG was originally about technology restrictions. Mostly, developers had to limit character animation while still keeping the game flashy. Once we got the technology to do this...
Odin.
We simply didn't need to restrict anything in a video game anymore, and turn-based died. It was just too slow to hold people's attention. But when you talk about succeeding through technology restrictions, you're talking about the indie market. Only the indies could... What? Wait, Ubisoft? And the writer from Far Cry 3? But this isn't a full-price game. What's going on? Okay, hold on, recap. Child of Light is an old-school style RPG that uses cel-shaded graphics and turn-based combat to remind us of everything we've been missing. You play as a badass little dead girl who needs to return all of the celestial bodies to the sky in order to return to her world. Although why you'd ever want to go back to the world where you can't shoot solar beams out of your hand, that's beyond me. The first thing that stands out is the game's sense of style. This is a storybook brought to life, complete with beautiful, cel-shaded animation and gorgeous flowing hair animation. Also, everything's in rhyme. There are even poems strewn throughout the world, all written coherently while simultaneously giving the player hints about the world. And the combat, oh damn it, I love the combat. Turn-based RPGs lost their edge because they would involve, well, waiting, which is time spent not playing. While Child of Light gives us obnoxious. Let's call him Better Navi. Better Navi allows the player to manipulate the battlefield actively, healing allies, slowing enemies, and restoring mana between turns. He keeps the player engaged, and proper use is key to setting up combos and stun-locking enemies in a combat system that quickly becomes refreshingly challenging. There's also a surprising amount of depth in character creation. The skill trees invite autonomy to the characters, and the Oculi gems act as a combination equipment and crafting system. They're simple systems, but they expand into satisfying complexity. If there's any downside, it's that some of the characters have duplicate abilities. So there's 2 characters I just don't use, and they just sit in my party screen. Useless. Overall, Child of Light is clearly the result of a labor of love. Only the dedicated or sad high schoolers could write that much poetry. And if you don't like, I guess, Dr. Seuss books, then Child of Light is not for you. For everyone else, it's a charming callback to a fancier, low-tech kind of gaming that kept me completely enthralled. Child of Light gets Fluffernutter's seal of approval.
Orange is the New Black has already been renewed for a 3rd season. Let me remind you, the 2nd season isn't even out yet.
Yeah!
Reminder, the 2nd season hits Netflix right around E3, so when you're done binge-watching Us, you have your next mission. Gotham has officially been ordered to series by Fox. It apparently wasn't official before, but it is now, so don't panic. The Flash series for the CW is also official.
So wait, TV stations are announcing stuff before it's official. What happens if these shows never happen? Do they go to, like, bizarre TV purgatory?
We haven't learned much about the Halo TV series, but we now know it will go to TV first, then Xbox with some added features.
We have no idea what that means, and I'm not sure I care.
Sony seems to be living in the past, along with other companies. They created a 185 terabyte tape for data storage. Yes, tape. It's generally cheaper, so some companies still use it because, well, they're stuck in the 80s.
The 80s were a good decade. Or so I hear. I wasn't alive then.
Internet privacy seems to be in the news a lot lately, so we're going to keep you up to date as we can. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is in the alpha stages of testing Privacy Badger, a browser add-on that forces sites like Facebook to not track you, no matter how much they want to. It's only available for Chrome and Firefox.
But if you know what a browser add-on is, you're probably using one of those 2 anyway.
Finally, large companies like Google, Microsoft, and Netflix, as well as several other companies, are writing a joint letter to the FCC about net neutrality. They're hoping this will allow content providers to have more of a say than the internet providers do.
Remember this day as the Internet's Declaration of Independence.
Why do you talk? Anyway, with over 100 companies campaigning for fairer rules, then of course this has to do something, right? Well, that's it for today, guys. Be sure to check out my snarky commentary on Twitter and follow us on Facebook. And now Mitch is going to give you some review of I don't know. You can fast forward.
When I saw Amazing Spider-Man 1, I thought, wow, this really is amazing. There was so many things wrong with the other 3 Spider-Man movies, but in this one, Spider-Man was funny, the action was spectacular, Peter Parker was smart, and the relationship between him and Gwen Stacy was actually adorable. So how does the sequel live up to it? Well, let's find out. The movie starts out extremely well, picking up where the characters were when we left off, and Peter's not in a perfect place, still reeling with guilt from the death of Captain Stacy. Peter's not sure if he can continue to endanger the girl he loves due to the promise he made, and this leads to a lot of emotional conflict throughout the movie. Some would say too much, at least since it definitely cut down on the action sequences.
The biggest problem is that they tried to stuff too much into too small a movie. It's also a campy, overacted, poorly directed mess, but we'll get to that in a moment. There are so many plots running throughout Amazing Spider-Man 2 that many of them lose significance. For example, Peter Parker finding his dad's nonsensical secret train laboratory from the trailer ends up being a relatively small reveal that's most important function is to justify the late Green Goblin fight. Of course, this movie spends too much time circling around Spider-Man's emotional distress that the action tends to end up dissolved in an ocean of superhero tears.
The action sequences that were there, though, were utterly incredible, enhanced by the phenomenal music. This is one of the few times where the soundtrack so noticeably enhanced the movie. For me, it actually helped me overlook some of the weaker elements of the movie, up to a certain point. While the transitions at times were rushed, the early portions tended to be amazing. Max Dillon, before he became Electro, was an absurd but fascinating kind of crazy, way too obsessed with Spider-Man once he got his life saved. "What's that, Spider-Man? You came by for my birthday? You made me a cake? You're my best friend, Spider-Man." Keep in mind that this whole scene, Spider-Man's not there at all. He's looking in a mirror. He's just cuckoo for Spider-Man puffs.
If only Electro was a major part of the plot. He's a crazy character, well, really crazy, actually. Like, so crazy that he's more sad than cool, but he's nothing more than the stand-in that gave Spider-Man someone to fight to break up the horrible sadness. They could have done this entire movie without him or with another villain and changed very little. The real villain is clearly Harry Osborn / the Green Goblin. They do a lot to set up Harry as smart enough to be a long-standing evil mastermind, but he's stuffed in at the end. And actor Dane DeHaan just has no capability for holding an audience's attention.
Contrary to Mitch, I loved Harry Osborn in the movie. He played that unstable, neglected rich kid role really well. I just hated as soon as he showed up as Green Goblin. He went from dark and brooding to absurdly goofy, like flipping a switch, and I just didn't buy it. In fact, the entire end scene just about ruined the movie. We went from what felt like the climax to a scene just shoved right in there for Green Goblin to go, "Booga, booga, booga, I'm a goblin, look at me, I'm doing stuff, boo, I'm gone." It felt so forced, and it broke the spell the movie had on me, forcing me to confront how many other scenes felt forced.
Exactly. Amazing 2 is stuffed so full you can see its seams. Most of it is clearly a setup for future films, which leaves us with very little substance, and the transformations for the villains feel forced, extreme, and unnatural. There was some good, though. The music, as Jeremy said, is better than any other movie music in recent history. And the rare fight scenes that we get are pretty great. Also, they finally made Peter Parker talk like a New Yorker. He has an accent now. It's weird that we've never noticed it until now. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 earns Fluffernutter's seal of
Original Sin, Rat Queens, looking good. There it is.
What are you doing?
Just making sure I got all my stuff from my reviews.
And by that you mean reread them for the 100th time.
Shh. It's research.
It's words with pictures. Because they're awesome, the Shrunken Head Man Group, an animation and illustration club at the San Jose State University, will be holding a student art auction for an epic cause.
Are they related to the Blue Man Group?
The art up for auction is entirely comprised of student-made work inspired by their favorite Nintendo games. Works draw their inspiration and basis from games like Banjo-Kazooie, Kirby, Donkey Kong, the Super Mario franchise, Animal Crossing, Legend of Zelda, and so much more. The work from these students is just as incredible as the cause behind the auction. The proceeds of this sale will be going to the benefit of the Morgan Autism Center. The auction will be closed as of May 16th, and even if you're not on the market for an Animal Crossing's Mayor Tortimer figurine or a gorgeous print from any number of your favorite childhood Nintendo pastimes, the work is still definitely worth at least a polite viewing tour.
Original sin number 1. Marvel's next big event is here, and personally, it's going to be hard to live up to last year's insane but very rich and strangely poetic Infinity event. This first issue doesn't have any big, shocking moments. I mean, the big one, the death of the Watcher, was heavily advertised and is even on the cover. But there's still the big mystery of who killed him and what they plan to do with his eyes.
And whether or not they believe it's not butter.
Mike Deodato's artwork is an amazing blend of cosmic and noir dark. The shadowy nature enhances the mystery aspect, elevated to a grand epic scale. It really seems perfect for the story. I also gotta say, I like the choices of characters. Lots of fan favorites like Spiderman and Moon Knight. I'm just not sure what the logic behind the choices are aside from popularity. Overall, things are off to a pretty good start, but I'm concerned that this event is going to lose focus and evolve into, look at everyone's big secrets, let's all fight about it, as the promos kind of hint at, and is sort of Marvel's trend, like Secret Invasion, Avengers vs. X-Men, Civil War, Fear itself. I could go on for hours. 8 out of 10.
Dead Man Wonderland. For those of you who are familiar with the series, you'll already know that Dead Man Wonderland's 13-volume manga run will be coming to a close this August, at least in Japan. But luckily, for North American and other English-reading countries, the series is still ongoing. Like many Tokyo Pop series, the DW was thrown a lifeboat by Viz Entertainment, and the company has begun reprinting and continuing to print the English translation of the manga series as of early 2014. Right now, we're going to be looking down the barrel end of number 3's release in June, and then number 4 in August. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, Dead Man Wonderland is a series about a somewhat macabre...
Yeah, somewhat macabre. Sure, let's go with that.
Macabre psychological action series that focuses on the main character, Ganta Igarashi, after a massive earthquake that destroys Tokyo, and he is sentenced to death after being wrongfully convicted of killing his own classmates. He now struggles for survival in a theme park prison to serve out a cartoonishly bizarre death sentence, while desperately trying to discover the identity of the man for whom he has been serving time for. And full power to the pun shields. It's a series to die for.
Cyclops number 1. Cyclops isn't exactly the poster child for X-Men with a huge demand for a solo series, but I was actually really excited about this. A lot of it's because Greg Rucka is writing, although this is a bit out of his usual wheelhouse. He generally sticks to street crime, gritty noir kind of stuff, not the space adventures of a time-displaced mutant, but Greg Rucka is definitely a talented enough writer to succeed at just about anything, and it's the absurd premise that drew me in addition to Rucka's name. But if I'm being honest, it's that same absurd premise that's going to push some people away. I mean, you need to understand that young Cyclops from back in the original 5 X-Men is stuck in the present because of all new X-Men, and that he found his thought-dead dad in space, and he's a space pirate. It's kind of a lot to need to know about just to start a new series. But leave it to Greg Rucka to make it equally about the powerful emotional situations as it is about crazy, awesome space pirate antics.
But is he a dandy guy in space?
Corsair's crew isn't quite the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's chock full of interesting and amusing characters with Cyclops caught in the middle of it. I don't think this series is going to last super long, but if I can convince you to take a look, maybe it'll succeed. God knows it deserves to. 9 out of 10.
Today on Nerdcast, we look at the passing of a legend, Ephraim Zimbalist. Who doesn't remember watching Batman the Animated Series?
I demand Netflix to air those instead of their other so-called quality programming. We're looking at you, TLC reruns.
Anyways, Batman the Animated Series. Remember Alfred Pennyworth? Well, that incarnation of the comic world's favorite butler was voiced by none other than actor Ephraim Zimbalist, who recently passed away at the age of 95. He started out in show business as a page boy for NBC, only to leave it in pursuit of a Broadway career, working alongside such greats as Spencer Tracy, Garcon Cannon, and by 1949, he was offered the chance to make his remarkable movie debut in House of Strangers, co-starring with legend Edward G. Robinson. This dream was put on hold after a personal tragedy, but would soon be revived with some of his best film work, Band of Angels, Too Much Too Soon,
And of course, Home Before Dark.
before he began his role as Alfred, the faithful and ever-helpful butler to DC's most famous detective.
The Gray Ghost. The question? Detective Chimp.
He was not only the face of all 241 episodes of the FBI, but also a teacher, an actor, a friend, a husband, and a father. Ephraim, you will be missed.
Batman Superman number 10. I wonder if it's the insane detail of Jay Lee's artwork causing delays, but this week's Batman Superman is a filler issue by Jeff Lemire and 2 other artists, but I couldn't really tell the difference between those 2 artists, so I guess that worked.
Clearly, ninjas are at work here.
The story's a bit short and rushed, being crammed into 1 issue just to fill space, so it doesn't feel totally complete. It's also chock full of extremely familiar plot elements. Ooh, Batman has tiny stuffs in his brain. Ooh, they need a shrink expert to do it. Let's call the Atom. But he's not the Atom yet because of the New 52. Superman is heroic and noble. Batman is badass and awakens from a coma ready for battle. Yada yada yada. Print, rinse, and repeat. At least it's written well enough not to drag on, and the art's nice and dynamic, and it's always nice to see more of Shade since Frankenstein was canceled, especially from the creator. There's a nice future conflict subtly set up, but overall, this issue is fairly bland and a tad bit hollow. 6 out of 10.
For our longtime Nerdvillians, who else remembers that wonderful series from a while back that I covered? You know, comedy, drama, the supernatural, a little risque. For those of you who are still lost or just joining us, I speak, of course, about Recently My Sister is Unusual, running loosely around the basis of a forbidden lust between 2 non-blood-related siblings, and as perpetrated by a lustful ghost, the series had a short run. It was a comedy that was never incredibly funny due to its suggestive content, most of which being in very poor taste half the time. So why am I bringing this up today? Well, it was a slow week and I just thought that we could use a little bit of time away from the kids and it's getting a live action movie. Yes. This series is actually getting a live action movie. As we speculated earlier this season, this seems to be the time, if not the beginning of an era, for live action adaptations of anime series. And sadly, in this case, whether they deserve it or not. I'm still waiting for my Cowboy Bebop live action.
Archer and Armstrong number 20. How is it that I always underestimate Archer and Armstrong?
Distracted by Stephanie Brown, maybe?
It was towards the top of my list, but I wasn't super excited about it this week. I keep forgetting it was the second to last Valiant series I got into, but ended up being one of my favorites. Now that Archer is the head of the sect, and now that he's gotten information about his birth parents from Project Rising Spirit, we head into a new arc, a new phase of Archer's ongoing story. This arc has a lot going for it. It balances out some great Hollywood-based humor into the usual jokes of drunken immortals and secret cults, but this arc seems to have some more interesting philosophical themes to it, especially about the lizard brain and celebrity status. This could be the best arc of Archer and Armstrong yet, and like every other Valiant series, everyone should check this out. 9 out of 10.
That was not a comforting sound.
The third bottom comic this week is Iron Fist The Living Weapon number 2. The series is just kind of starting to confuse me, and this issue just was kind of in the middle point anyways.
In the bottom 3 for anime, topping the list at number 3, we have Riddle's Story of the Devil. Honestly, it's just trying too hard.
Number 2 worst comic this week is Trinity of Sin, The Phantom Stranger, number 19, because nothing really felt significant and everyone just kind of did magic spells that conveniently solved each problem without any real trouble.
Our number 2 for the bottom list for anime this week is Recently My Sister Is Unusual. Sure, it might be getting its own live-action film, but we know what you did.
The worst comic this week was Teen Titans Annual number 3. It solved this huge looming conflict from the entire series in a set of just simplicity and rushness, and it just... blah.
And at number 1 for the bottom 3 anime this week, we have Rowdy Sumo Wrestler Matsutaru. The artwork itself is refreshing in the sense that it's kind of old school, but you can tell it's a budget constraint and not a style. Also, the main character's completely unlovable. Why would anyone do this?
I read it forwards and then backwards.
For this week's top 3 at number 3 for anime, we have Chaos Head. It's recently been on Netflix and on demand, and, well, it's a little bit of a twist in there.
The third best comic this week was Swamp Thing number 31. Charles Soule really is channeling Alan Moore here, adding more and more interesting things to the mythology and taking things in surprising and deep directions.
Our number 2 anime of the week is the Kawaii Guide to Manners and Hostile Behavior. It's getting pretty good, actually.
The second best comic this week was Moon Knight number 3. The solicit said, Moon Knight punches ghosts, and that's all you need to know. This series continues to be awesome.
Our number 1 anime choice of the week is Mushishi. Now, this is a really incredible anime based off an even more incredible book. We're going to come back to that in a bit.
The best comic this week was Rat Queens number 6. It's still absurdly entertaining and amusing, and you all need to read it because it will make you laugh so hard.
I have no idea what this week's Good Bad Random is about. Do you?
No, no one told me.
This isn't good.
Hold on, let me call Jeremy.
Hey guys, be ready in 5, 4.
No,
No,
I didn't
no!
even press a button yet. I
No,
just put it to
we
my
don't
ear.
know!
I didn't.
What is the theme of Good Bad Random this week? Net neutrality. Oh.
Good. Net neutrality provides non-discriminatory access. Title II of the Communications Act basically means that every website and every web searcher has access to the same bandwidth and information. This is the core concept behind net neutrality.
Bad. There really isn't anything bad about this. I mean, net neutrality legislation could do more harm than good, especially since internet technology changes so quickly. Badly written laws could actually do the opposite of what they're supposed to do.
Random. Net neutrality is the assurance that access to the web and its contents will not be blocked, slowed down, or sped up depending on where that access is based on or who owns the access point.
Good. Innovation and creativity. Net neutrality encourages creative expression. Groundbreaking ideas and innovative products such as Google, eBay, YouTube, and torrents have gotten to where they are today simply because they could all communicate equally.
If we didn't have net neutrality, we'd have to pay cable providers for internet searches. Some, mostly Comcast and Verizon, argue that this could help maintain the networks. But really, it's just a money grab.
Random. Much of the push for net neutrality comes from the lack of competition in broadband services. For that reason, municipal wireless and other wireless service providers are highly relevant to the debate. Such services would provide a third type of broadband access with the potential to change the competitive landscape.
Good. Net neutrality provides a competitive marketplace. Without it, internet service providers like Verizon or Comcast get to set whatever standards they want for internet access, and consumers wouldn't be able to do jack about it.
Bad. Seriously. There really isn't a downside to net neutrality.
Random. In 2008, the FCC said that Comcast had violated the agency's net neutrality policy statement by allegedly slowing down BitTorrent's traffic because they lacked statutory authority. The FCC responded with the 2010 Open Internet Order, which reinterpreted parts of the Communications Act as a broad grant of authority. So Verizon sued. The DC Circuit Court has now accepted the FCC's reinterpretation, which means the FCC can regulate net neutrality even though the court struck down the two key provisions of the Open Internet Order. What?
Mitch, you're wrong.
Oh, not you too. Jess always says I'm wrong.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Jeremy's mad at me.
I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
Well, for what?
Well, you know how earlier we did the duel review?
Yeah.
We were talking about what we wanted to put in it, and I kind of said that the relationship with Gwen Stacy in this movie is a lot of teenage emo sadness, and it's boring.
I'm not upset. You're just wrong, and I will prove it.
Nerd fight, nerd fight, nerd
No.
fight, nerd
No, I
fight,
don't want to fight.
nerd fight.
No,
nerd.
So, comic book fans, what you really need to know is you're welcome. You're welcome for everyone in the movie industry for pushing your hobby into the mainstream. You're popular now.
Oh yeah, sure. It's not like we enjoyed being part of the counterculture. You know, now everyone just gets to step in and be like, "Oh, I like all this superhero stuff," when they don't even know crap what they're talking about.
Okay, maybe they don't know the original mythologies, but that's how you bring more people into the fold. DC just reset their universe. That allows them to find new people, new fans, infuse them with new ideas, and invite them into doing the thing you like doing.
Yeah, no. I understand that you got these movies now. You're welcome for our leftovers from the 70s.
It's not our fault that what takes you decades of storytelling and writing time to accomplish, we can do in 3 90-minute films.
No, see, the point is, you're never going to accomplish all the storytelling the comics have done because they've spent all that time evolving and maturing and gaining complex mythology. You never get past 3 recycled stories, and then you just start over.
But what about the comic book stories that got so weird or off base that they had to almost reset the entire universe?
Some of us like those ones that are weird, like the Doom Patrol. That was some great stuff, and that will live down in comic book history forever, and it will never make it to film because Hollywood only likes very simple ideas involving punching.
Okay, yeah, but that's the innovation that worked. What about the weird Spider-Man stories, where it turns out Spider-Man's just been a clone of Spider-Man for 10 years, while the real Spider-Man was off Spider-Manning in a different Spider-Man universe?
Look, if comic fans can forget that, sure. I don't think comic fans are going to forget Spider-Man 3.
If only we could all forget Spider-Man 3. But that was a small mistake. That was a bad ending to an otherwise good lead-up. One of the highest grossing comic book movies or films of all time. Also, Batman had one of the highest grossing films of all time, and The Avengers is the new big deal.
So, no more nerd fights with Jeremy for a while, huh?
Nope, and that's all the time we have for today.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
And YouTube at Nerdcast Laurel. We'll see you next week.
You know, you might want to get that looked at.
It hurts a lot, but I'm blocking it out.
Can I touch it?
No.
And now for something completely different.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jess, and this is Idiot.
I'm not. Ow. Today, Lucas has some seriously cool news. So cool, he's not even sharing. Jeremy
Jeremy and I Okay, let's just do a dry run.
Luke bantered 3 Lucases.
Tonight on Nerdcast, we learn how to scroll up and down.
Taiwanese lawmakers seem to think so. They are planning on implementing a fine that I stumbled.
Potatoes. That was efficient.
She's Irish, that's all she needs to hear.
Oh, definitely the potatoes.
I demand Netflix. Wait.
Net neutrality is the assurance that access to the web and its contents will not be blind. What did you do?
Nintendo is back in the news sorry.
What did I just say?
Don't try to make it sound like I'm crazy.
I've got no one to banter with. I'm sitting here, I'm talking to myself. I think I had a beatboxing session. I'm pretty sure you're gonna go back through the footage and just think I'm insane.
It's not that, I'm not looking at the teleprompter. I'm trying to remember my lines.
You can actually look at it now. Like, we don't have to look at the camera
Well,
anymore.
I'm talking to you though, that's the whole thing.
I'm not.
Can I hit him?
God, I feel so educational.
So, no more dual revert.
Ladies and gentlemen, let this go to show you that no matter how many times you try to outsmart a producer, they're always right. And occasionally soulless. Most of the time. Thank you, dear.
And then we transition to Mitch. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-dop.
That's gonna totally freak you out later.